Hello, everybody. We were sitting around, we're preparing for the GOP debate, and then, of course, some stunning breaking news happens. Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the failed Russian coup from just a couple of months ago, appears to have been killed in Western Russia aboard an airplane after being shot out of the sky, as I said, on a routine flight from Moscow to St. Petersburg. This has now been confirmed according to multiple Russian officials and the international media outlets, as well as a report from TASS, which is the official state Russian agency. So here's what they say. Quote, all 10 people aboard the plane, including 3 crew members, have died in the crash, according to the Russian Emergency Ministry. Officials said that a man with Prigozhin's name was amongst the passengers. As you guys can see from the video that we have here, it's absolutely stunning and crazy. You could literally, you're watching as this plane is completely shot out of the sky. People around the area immediately notice what is going on. There's some really grisly video. I don't recommend you don't watch it. You watch it unless you have a strong stomach of some of the bodies that were laying there. And of course, this is very likely a complete and total open retaliation by Russian President Vladimir Putin for Prigozhin's failed coup attempt against him just a couple of months ago. And it still raises a lot of questions as to what the hell happened on that day where the world was so transfixed. Prigozhin stockpiles all these weapons from the Russian military as head of the Wagner group. They're fighting and do a lot of brutal fighting inside of Ukraine. He spends months criticizing the Russian military leadership. He launches said coup, says that he's going to drive all the way to Moscow. He gets pretty close to Moscow, actually. We know we have multiple instances of the roads being drug up, all kinds of internal consternation inside of the country. And then seemingly just, not that far away from the Russian capital, he turns around. He stops. Putin says that they've reached some sort of deal. And everybody, including me, you can go, actually tweeted it on that day. I said, well, I don't understand this deal because Prigozhin a couple of months, a couple of weeks, or a couple of years from now will drink some tea, fall out of a window. It turns out this time he fell out of an airplane. It was very clear, what his likely fate was going to be. And it's still unclear what exactly the deal was. There's been pictures that have emerged of Prigozhin inside of Moscow, of course. That's where he was flying from. There's, reports about the Wagner group basically being consolidated fully into the Russian military forces. And there's a lot of questions as to what was going through Prigozhin's mind. Like, why did he think that he was different? Why did he think that he could almost launch a successful coup and humiliate Putin in the eyes of the Russian population, in the eyes of the world, and get away with it? And, Putin, clearly, in some cases, he actually has waited much longer in order to kill military leaders, as he has in Ukraine or elsewhere, but it seems to be a time of choosing. We know that one of the previous generals, General Shrovokin, he's actually been officially fired by the Russian armed forces. He previously, was a very high-level military officer in charge of the campaign, played a big role inside of Syria. He was detained. It seems to have some sort of connection to Prigozhin. There's a couple different ways to look at this. It could be that Putin felt that he was weak in the aftermath, that he needed to cut a deal. He needed to consolidate what was going on with the Wagner group into the Russian military forces. He needed to make sure that everything was good before he went and killed Prigozhin. There is possibly, he thinks now that the counteroffensive with Ukraine is effectively ground to a halt, he can fire this military officer. He can risk it, in terms of potential military strife amongst former Wagner troops that have been incorporated here, and that he can minimize any sort of blowback. So there's a lot of questions here as to why. Was it from a position of strength? Was it from a position of weakness as to why he's go ahead and acting now? But what a stunning rise and fall, I guess. I mean, Prigozhin, for a lot of people who don't know, he was literally Putin's chef. He's a former prisoner, rises up to become an oligarch in his own right, becomes one of the most important leaders in the entire Russian war effort, leads all of these prisoners into battle, facilitates a lot of Russian military mercenary operations all around the world, including in Africa. And that's why, his death is still extraordinary in his own right, not just because he wasn't playing a role now all that much inside of the conflict in Ukraine, but Wagner forces are still dispersed all across the globe. So look, we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Things never stop being interesting inside of Russia, do they? And, me, along with many others, Crystal, others who were like, there's no way that this man is going to breathe, or, he's on his last breath, and he must know it. He was a smart guy. It really does boggle the mind. I guess it's one of those, the line is like, if you're going to take Vienna, then you better take Vienna. I'm saying that in the most sanitized version. So anyway, we're excited for our debate coverage very early tomorrow morning. We're going to be stay tuned. Can't believe this thing ends at 11 p.m. Can you? 11 p.m. Eastern Time. That's absolutely outrageous. Thank you to our premium members who enable all of our Snap work and all of the work that we're going to be doing all over the night in order to make sure that you get it as soon as you wake up and early in the morning. Otherwise, we'll see you all tomorrow.